maybe the number one reason why people are so inconsistent with their fitness, but also maybe other hobbies in life.
Well, you can never fully make sure that it never happens again, but how do we sort of try and make that a bit more watertight for the next time round?
Especially when it's your own thing, you do want things to be perfect and go really well.
This idea of success and makes you feel as though it has to be all or nothing.
I think a good thing to have in your head as well going through life is the 80-20 rule. So welcome to the Middle Ground podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about, how the all or nothing mindset can sabotage your success. And I'm your host, Rhys White.
And I'm Olivier Nicholas.
Nice. So I don't know about you, but the all or nothing mindset is something that comes up a lot when I'm trying to help my clients get in shape, or it's maybe the number one reason why people are so inconsistent with their fitness, but also maybe other hobbies in life. I don't know if that's the same for you as a life coach.
It is the same. It's the same for me in my business. This idea of perfection, this idea of there being, excuse the pun, no middle ground.
Yeah, love that.
But it's true though, right? Like, it's like, for example, I had a pretty big setback in my business. I think it was, I saw it as a big setback. In reality, it probably wasn't. But what happened was I noticed my response to that. So the initial response was that I was pissed off, and I was really bummed out. I'd spent a lot of time on this thing. It fell through, and I tried to text my wife, and I accidentally texted my friend, and I said, I just need to be pissed off about this for a bit, and then I'll be fine. And then I was like, oh shit, I sent it to the wrong person.
How did your friend react?
It was the most beautiful response, actually. Let me read it to you. Hold on. It was quite. If I could have sent it to anyone, I'm glad I sent it to this person.
You can send that message to anyone, and hopefully everyone in your contacts would respond in a nice way.
No, definitely. I put, sorry, I think I just need to be pissed off about this for a bit before I can move on, is what I said.
It was out of the blue.
Yeah, first thing in the morning, okay. And then he said, hey, well, whatever it is, having closure can really help you move on to the next chapter. Hope it's all okay, and may well see you later at Soho House, mate. I thought, how cool. What a great response to that. Really glad that that was where that text ended up. And, I'm sure, like you say, I wouldn't have received bad responses either way. But the point is, I needed to be pissed off, and I needed to sit with that feeling. And it's about knowing and understanding what those feelings mean at the time. So because in the heat of the moment, and I was pissed off, what happens is you have a neural hijacking. I can't say that word. Neural hijacking. Yeah. And it shuts down your executive function. So you're not actually thinking clearly. You're having an emotional response to a situation. And I had to just go, okay, I'm having an emotional response to this. This isn't a smart response. It's not pragmatic, which is, I'd like to consider myself a pragmatist. But I knew I had to sit with it and just recognize that emotion. And then it was only afterwards that I was like, okay, cool, right, that happened. How do we move forward? How do we adapt? How do we make sure that, well, you can never fully make sure that it never happens again, but how do we sort of try and make that a bit more watertight for the next time round? So, it's not all or nothing, because if it was that setback, that failure, or not failure as such, but would have meant that I would have stopped. Well, why not?
Press the fuck it button.
Yeah.
That's what all or nothing is, isn't it? It's like, I've done this, what's the point? Boom, and self-destruct. Literally, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. So that's my experience with it. Do you feel like in your fitness journey, do you think have you always had a middle ground approach, or do you feel like you've had an all or nothing approach before?
If I'm being honest, I do tend to go all or nothing, as in like when I have something to focus on, when I'm focusing on something or have something I'm aiming for, I really go all in kind of thing on it. And I don't then kind of miss training, or I don't miss, whatever I'm doing towards that goal, because I'm like, if I do everything to get to that, X, Y, and Z, that'll get me to my goal. But where that kind of bit me in the arse before is the guy called Matt Fraser. He kind of launched this online gym program, CrossFit program, and I was like, he is the fittest guy in the world. I'm going to do his program. But it was like, the sessions were 2 hours. It was 5-6 days a week of training, and I went all in on it. And yeah, to be fair, I got like super strong and super fit, but I went so all in where I just completely burnt out. Yeah, I was just exhausted to the point where I went in one gym session and I tried to do a warm up, and I couldn't even lift up a dumbbell. I was like that exhausted. So I think people see the all or nothing as something where people make a mistake, and then they stop because they're like, I've fucked everything up. I've ruined my progress. Self-destruct. But also, I think that all or nothing could also be just doing stuff too much and trying to perfect it too much to the point where it doesn't really fit into your lifestyle, or it's not having a positive effect on you anymore.
And actually, thinking about how we first put these podcast episodes out, there were definitely things for me, and I obviously can't speak on your behalf, but there were definitely things for me that I wanted to include in that first podcast. I wanted it to be perfect, and actually I made a lot of inner sacrifices. For me, they felt like sacrifices. They probably weren't, but let's just get it out. Let's just put it out, because I really wanted to get talking more about this stuff. I wanted to get the podcast out. I was excited about it. So it didn't need to be perfect. It didn't need to be this.
It never will be perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a unicorn, right? So I think the point is that having this binary approach to things is not helpful, because I've had an experience in my previous job where I was doing all or nothing, and burnout is absolutely the word for it. I found that I was just putting everything in, and the problem with that as well is that things don't stop coming your way. So if you're putting everything into something, in my case, I was working my arse off at my job, but people still get through work at me, so I quickly burnt out. So I think the idea of trying to accept imperfections a little bit, and to maybe just take your foot off the pedal a little bit, just so that you don't put too much pressure on yourself, and accepting that things might not be perfect each time.
I think that's harder when, especially me and you, are running our own businesses.
Yeah, for sure.
Where when you work in a normal job, you work from 9 to 5 and that's it. You go home, you don't think about that job. When you're running your own business, your mind's going all day, all night, to the point where Emily looks at me and she's like, "You're thinking about work, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah." Even if she's talking to me, I'm just like, just blank over. And I think that's something I had to learn to deal with, because I was like all or nothing into my business. But again, what was being sacrificed for that was maybe time with Emily, evenings with Emily, and being present with her. So I could see that. Well, I know from experience how hard that can be to reduce that down. I think it's all about setting boundaries as well, and just accepting, when it gets to a certain time now, when it gets to 6 p.m, I'm like, I've done what I can today. Yeah, this is my cut-off point, Okay, no phones. I'm going to be present with Emily and Luca and do what I've got to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of almost do that on the weekend as well. But before the to-do list is never ending. So before it would get to 6 p.m. and I'll still be doing stuff on my phone and editing content and getting it out, messaging my clients. And Emily's just like on the sofa next to me, like, are you even going to talk to me? And I'm just like, so sorry. So it is easy to fall into that trap of all or nothing. Especially when it's your own thing. You do want things to be perfect and go really well. But yeah, I think you need to almost experience the negative, like, of, you know, Emily telling me, like, look, I want you to be more present in me. I want my, you know, partner back, essentially. You need someone to say that to you, be like, yeah, I have been going all in and I need to hold it back a bit. And it's all about finding that balance, right?
Definitely. I think you're better at that than I am, to be honest with you. I think I need to take a leaf out of your book because, I mean, I had exactly the same thing. I think we were watching TV, and I did the same thing. I just went, you know, I was like, you know, thinking about, well, whatever, something to do with business. And then, like, I think Robin she was like, where are you?
Yeah.
But, like, where are you?
You're not in this room right now.
You know, and I think that, I think you're right that having someone call you on your shit is really helpful because you're never going to do it yourself, you know, realistically, if you're running a business, because it's everything in your head, isn't it, really, generally. But having that person saying that, you know, like, where are you, is really helpful. But I need to get better at it because I noticed as well, you're quite good at keeping your phone off, I think, during weekends and stuff. Unless you just don't message.
I just ignore your messages.
Unless it's just me, I don't know. Does anyone else have that experience?
Awkward. Yeah, just block you. But
no, but I like that. I think that's really cool. And I think you did. I feel as though you did a piece of content where you were talking about being present in the moment. And I like that. And I did like an L&D training day last Monday. And we had a guy there who was doing, what's it called? Like not breath work. It's where you just sort of shut your eyes and they talk to you.
Okay.
But what he left us with at the end of the session was helpful tips about how to include that in your day. So for example, even if it's just kind of going for a walk and just being present in the moment, just like, you know, looking at what's around you. I know it sounds a bit like woo-woo, but...
No. I totally agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think we ever do that. I know my brain's always whirring, and that whole thing about, you know, not being able to shut off with a business, I find that really hard because that's when my brain starts going, is when I sit still and I'm not doing anything. That's why I quite like going to do a sauna sometimes at the beginning, like after I work out, go into the sauna before I start my day. Yeah. Because it's a really good way of just unpacking. Because I start to do like a to-do list in my head. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking, okay, cool. So we're Wednesday now. So I want to make sure that I get this, and this done. And then I'll feel like on Friday, it's okay to switch off a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we were saying that it's good to have someone to call you out when you are going all in, but also it's like what you said there, it's okay to bring it back down. Like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like, if, you know, I'm relating it to my job, but if my clients if they eat something that's maybe unhealthy, or they go out for a piss up one night, or they missed a gym session and they get really down about it, and you could see that a bit upset about that because they're trying to be perfect. You need someone to, it needs me to put my arm around them and be like, hey, it's okay. Don't worry. It's one gym session. Don't worry about it. You had a burger.
Don't worry about it. You've been eating healthy all week.
Yeah.
That one burger is nothing. You went out you had a few drinks.
Yeah.
You got to live. You got to enjoy yourself and be happy and hang out with your mates. So yeah, go out for a drink with your mates. But if you're doing it 4 times a week, then yeah, that's an issue. But if it's once every so often, man, that's fine. You need people to be like, I need to tell them like it's okay. Like don't panic. This is life. Do you know what I mean? Like, life is not perfect. So what makes you think your fitness journey is going to be perfect as well?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing. Is it's like people want to be perfect. They want to nail it, but it's just not possible. You have to adapt. You have to change things. I was incredibly ill last week, so I didn't train at all. I think that would be enough to make people go, I haven't trained for a week. What's the point? And then they fall into the cycle. But me, I'm like, I feel like shit. I'm not going to train this week because I need to recover. But I know I'll be back in the gym next week. And yeah, when I get back to the gym, it's going to be hard because I've missed a week, and I'm trying to get used to it again. But after 3 sessions, it'll be fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of, I think a good thing to have in your head as well going through life is the 80-20 rule.
Right.
Okay. So if you are trying to eat healthy or train, get your steps in, get your sleep hours in, if you're doing that 80% of the time, you're good. Like you're going to get the results, and use that 20% of going out for a drink with your mates, enjoying a donut, or missing a workout because something at work pops up. You got about 20% that you could almost sacrifice. And if you're if you say that in your mind all the time, then you're kind of like, but I've smashed the whole week. So this one thing is not good. It's not a big deal. That's my 20%. I know I've smashed the whole week. That's something I really try to ingrain in my clients. I'm just like, you've done this one thing, but look what you've done the whole week. Like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean?
100%. It does also, I think it's worth bearing in mind as well, and I don't know if you agree with this, but it feels almost like we're creating systems and behaviors to unlearn what society has kind of drilled into us. And I think that is changing now. I think that when Luca is older, be experiencing a different world entirely. But growing up and I know that we're slightly different ages, but growing up under the sort of boomer influence, and you would have been in a similar sort of age group as well, we're not really told, or let me change that, we're not really empowered to understand the importance of failures and what they mean and all this sort of thing. So there's always been, like, my childhood certainly felt like it was against a backdrop of perfection, so it's, whether it's society or whatever, and now we have obviously social media, but this idea of perfection, and you look at superheroes, for example, and I've mentioned that before, but I think it's just a really interesting example of, like, you never see fat superheroes. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that represents failure, but this idea of success and it makes you feel as though it has to be all or nothing. Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally get what you mean. It's like, so social media, I think, definitely has a massive impact on people just posting things of their perfect lives. Everything's going well, they're not stressed, nothing bad happens. Yeah. That's just obviously not the case. And I went away to Thailand for a month with Emily and Luca, and I was posting reels of my highlights of the trip, and it looks amazing. Like, people were looking at that going, Rhys, you're having the best time in the world. And I did. But then I also created a reel talking about the challenges I faced being in Thailand for a month with Emily and Luca. And that is being away in a country with a 6-month-old baby. Like, we weren't getting much sleep. Looking after the baby is very challenging. You're so consumed into looking after the baby that me and Emily felt disconnected in a way. And I did a reel on that, and so many people related to that, because the real is not showing. It's all been, you know, rainbows and sunshines. You know, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're, you know, in Brighton or in paradise. Challenges are going to happen, and you know, nothing's perfect. Do you know what I mean? And also, I think with the school system as well, you're almost ingrained to be like, you know, you got to get an A, you got to get a B, you got to get an A star, and then when you you have to go to university, you have to do well, you have to get a job, you have to get a promotion, you have to get another promotion, and before you know it, you're climbing up the ladder, and you probably end up in a position where you don't like where you are. You're in a very stressful job. Yeah, the pay's good, but it's not worth the amount of hours that you work in, and you're pretty miserable. And I'm guessing that's the kind of all or nothing things that you deal with, right? Yeah,
absolutely. It's also the all or nothing that I was, you know, because I did that. I mean, I didn't, you know, we've talked about the squiggly career and the unconventional path, but I definitely was climbing that ladder. Or at least it felt like every time I was climbing ladder, someone would take a step away above me. So do you know what I mean? So making it almost impossible to climb. And then at one point I was like, wait, who put this ladder here?
Yeah.
Because I didn't put this ladder here. It was put there by someone else. And so I questioned what ladder I was even climbing.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, well, okay. Burnout is a thing that I'm experiencing. So let's change this, you know. But again, you know, we're unlearning at the moment, and that's why it's in my view why we have to create these strategies and systems, you know, because someone put that ladder in front of us, you know.
Yeah.
As a kind of a leaving thought, what would you say how would you say to someone would be a helpful way to recognize within themselves whether or not they have an all or nothing mindset? Like, how might they recognize that they have one, do you think?
I think ask yourself, when's the last time you actually gave yourself credit? I think. Because I think people are just so hard on themselves and they only focus on the negatives. I missed a workout, I ate that donut, I did this, I did that. When's actually the last time you stopped and compared yourself to you a month ago, 3 months ago, whatever it is, and actually just write down all the positive things you've done? Because I think the all or nothing mindset just really just goes all in on the negatives. So if you're someone who maybe is a bit hard on themselves, and you haven't appreciated the journey you're on or how far you come, I think that's a very important step to also just give yourself a bit of a break. Do you know what I mean? Because when you write down all the positive things that you have achieved and in comparison to where you were, and you write them down, you do look down and go, actually I've done all right. Do you know what I mean? When maybe the whole time they've been thinking, I fucked up, I did this, I did that, or, you know, they focus on the negatives.
Love that.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good place to start.
Nice. Well, you've been listening to The Middle Ground. I'm Olivier Nicholas.
And I'm Rhys White.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe.
Please hit subscribe, that'd be amazing. Nice.